Grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the communion of the Holy Spirit be with you all. Amen. I hold this against you. You have forsaken your first love. Revelation 2:4. Boy, that kind of hurts. Jesus doesn't really hold back there. In Ephesians 5, Paul calls the church the bride of Christ. Imagine you received a letter from your spouse and they accused you of no longer loving them. Not just no longer loving them, if they said, "You have abandoned the love you had for me." You might be calling that marriage counselor as soon as possible. The Lord finds wrong at the church of Ephesus. And it is, of course, a danger for all Christians. These letters aren't just for that local church, but for Christians throughout time. Is that God's people have left their first love. Now, John is the apostle kind of known for love. He's the apostle whom Jesus loves, after all. And it's the theme of his letters, his pastoral letters, over and over and over again. And in John 13:34, in John 15, he recounts that Jesus says that there is no greater love than someone should lay down his life for his friends. It's the genesis of all other love and of all of love's work, self-sacrifice. From this love, the church had fallen. A love that had redeemed it, that had saved her, it had abandoned. Its members had forsaken this love of God that possessed them and bound them to one another. It was no longer of first importance in their lives. And Christ starts with this. In Ephesus, you have lost your first love, because it's the chief sin from which all the other problems in the churches flow from in the following letters. Now, how the church in Ephesus had lost or left or abandoned this first love is never mentioned. But what it leads to is indicated in the following letters. And the thing about it is Jesus ain't wrong, folks. There are many ways we have lost our first love. There are many things that we have put above God. We start to trust in politics. We start to trust in wealth. We say things like, well, at least there's peace in my generation. There's no need to train up those that come after. Why gather with other people, maybe people that we're not too fond to see, when we could simply watch church online in our pajamas, all by ourselves, after all? You can go down and down through the list: status symbols, sex, drugs, rock and roll. And so Christ tonight calls us back to our first love. Jesus calls us to conquer the idolatry in our hearts and to return to our baptismal faith. Christ calls us to recognize our sin and to turn and be healed. Jesus calls us to restore our relationship with him. And in so doing, we will restore our relationship with one another. So this day, receive anew the blessing of God's forgiveness. Those that heed God's word this day receive the promise, receive the assurance of sins forgiven, of life eternal with Jesus. We are promised to eat from the tree of life, which if you skip all the way to Revelation chapter 22, we find out lines, the waters of life, which is flowing like a river. And the leaves of this tree are for the healing of the nations. Today we heard the words pronounced on us, "From dust you came," or "From dust you are, and to dust you shall return." This is the curse laid down by our ancient parents when they disobeyed God and brought sin into the world despite the warning that they would surely die. But these words and this curse also point to the promise that preceded just a few verses prior in Genesis 3, when God looks at the serpent and says, I will put enmity between you, Satan, and the woman, and between your offspring and hers, and he will strike your head, and you will strike his heel. If the Lord tarries long enough, our mortal bodies will perish. We will die. But even though we die, yet shall we live, and we who believe in the Lord will never die. Death has no more dominion over us. Even though we might have lost our first love, what do we find? We find that first love relentlessly chasing after us. We cannot escape the love of God. God has an unrelenting passion for his creation. God gave his son, Jesus, the second person of the Trinity, for the whole world. His sacrifice for our sins. He laid down his life so that he may call us friends. So we leave here not depressed, not in sorrow, but we leave here encouraged. For what we have been made, we've been made children of God. We leave encouraged because we leave with our sins forgiven. We leave encouraged because we leave in hope of the promise still yet to come, that Christ will return and death will once and for all be overthrown. We might be sinners, but we are very much so saints at the same time. So I invite you to the Lord's table to come and be restored once again to our first love. In Christ's name, amen.